Just to give you a heads up, I'm making a video over here, so if you hear me talking, I'm not talking to myself. Well, I guess I am talking to myself, but...
Okay, you're an artist.
Yeah, I'm an artiste, exactly, thank you. That is a nice way of putting it. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Dad Diary. I'm your host, Danny Jordan. I don't know what I'm hosting. I don't know why I call myself a host. I'm not interviewing anybody. This is just a vlog, so I don't know if I would necessarily be called a host, but I'm the guy talking to the camera, and my name happens to be Danny Jordan. And this is the Dad Diary, as I said. Anyway, hope you guys are having an incredible day. Wanted to jump on here and provide another update for you all. If you've been following the most recent series of videos that I've been putting up on here, then you know that this last 7-day stretch, well, 8 days now, has been a roller coaster ride for my wife and myself. The last 3.5 months really have been a ride. We'll just call it that. But the last 8 days in particular have been just a roller coaster of emotions. If you haven't seen my previous 2 videos, go back and watch them, whether it's here on YouTube or Facebook. Just click through my profile and I promise you will be able to find them. But for those who have been following along and those who are now just getting caught up, I wanted to jump on here, provide another update for you all. Here is the latest. We were sent to this specialist at Kaiser Sunset, and I just need to say that this person could not have been more of a stark contrast in a positive way from what we experienced at the orthopedist last week. This woman walked into the room and immediately came in and addressed the fact that she knew about the experience that we had. You know, our normal doctor had made notes in my wife's files specifically detailing what we had experienced with the orthopedist, what we had been told, and this person came so incredibly prepared for us, which, if you watch my previous video, you know that from our standpoint, the orthopedist felt incredibly unprepared. She didn't have any imagery with her. She had no files. She wasn't looking at anything on the computer. She even told us she hadn't reviewed any of the ultrasounds because she felt like it wouldn't have been beneficial for her. Well, on the flip side, this individual we met with this week on Wednesday at Kaiser Sunset came in immediately saying how she reviewed all the imagery. She's printed out numerous images that are hanging in her office, and based off of what she's seen, she had this huge medical journal that she brought in to discuss with us after she went through her own ultrasound. Excuse me, I've been drinking coffee and that's what happens. Anyway, she came in with this huge medical journal with earmarked pages basically addressing what Dr. Hausman, who's our normal doctor, maybe I shouldn't be saying her name on here. Anyway, she's awesome, so shout out to Dr. Hausman. Anyway, what our normal doctor had diagnosed and what she suspected that she was going to confirm based off of the images she saw. So basically, this individual was already just miles ahead of the experience that we had last week. She ended up doing about a 30-minute ultrasound on my wife. You know, our baby is, as babies get bigger, obviously it becomes harder with these ultrasounds to get clear imagery of them because they're so sort of folded up and compacted in the uterus. But anyway, she did what she could. She saw what she saw. She was able to confirm a lot of the things that our doctor has been telling us for the last 3.5 months. I should say though that on the flip side of that, she is not as willing to commit to the fact that the bone in our baby's forearm is her ulna bone. She was watching our baby for 15-20 minutes and she never really made this sort of motion. So she said, that could just be where she's positioned right now and she just doesn't feel like moving her arm. She goes, but because I didn't see her make this movement, then I can't conclude that the bone that we are seeing in her arm is for sure her ulna bone and not her radial bone. So that remains, an element of the unknown, and even our doctor has told us is that, again, there's so many things that are unknown that we won't be able to confirm until she's here. But other than that, she said her heart looks great. The organs that she can see via ultrasound look great. Something she did which was so reassuring, and I think was a vote of confidence in the direction of this being an isolated incident was, if you've been to an ultrasound before, or you've done research on ultrasounds or talked to people about ultrasounds, a big thing that they do is a thing that they do is they will measure various parts of the baby's body. Obviously, the bones in the upper arms, the bones in your lower arm, your forearm, your upper legs, your lower legs, whatever it may be. They're measuring all the bones, and then through that's one of the ways that they're able to approximate the weight of the baby. But it's also a way to see how big your baby is on average, where are they measuring out, how are they progressing, how are they developing along the pregnancy. So for our baby specifically, one really helpful thing she did for us was, she went within the ultrasound apparatus, she went into a screen that basically showed her the measurements of all the limbs. And obviously, with the exception of our baby's right forearm, she said, if you look here, here's sort of the average midline of where most babies are at this point in pregnancy. She goes, but if you look where your baby measures out, her spot on the line, with the exception of her right forearm, is almost exactly the same. So she is symmetrical. Her legs are almost perfectly symmetrical. In terms of percentile, and her left arm is in almost the exact same percentile as her right and left leg are, and her upper right arm is almost in the exact same percentile as her legs and her other arm. So for her, she said this is a finding that she feels, gives weight towards the argument that this is an isolated incident. Again, I can't stress enough that there are certain things they can't see, but everything they can see right now is suggesting completely the opposite of what we were told last Friday. And on top of this, and again, I can't say thank you enough to our normal doctor who put in this referral to this other specialist, and then this specialist in particular, she came with this medical journal, and she was so incredibly prepared, as I mentioned, but she went through and basically showed us. She said, look, she goes, these tests have been done. These are very, very well-educated medical professionals who have done so many studies on limb deficiencies. And she said, look, their findings conclude that 70% of limb deficiencies are isolated incidents. She said, so basically, what that orthopedist told you is fundamentally wrong. She's just wrong. And that's something that I want to address. And I want to preface this by saying that I have a lot of close family and friends who work in the medical field, who are doctors, who are nurses, all aspects of being a medical professional. And I want to say that I respect you, and you have gone through so much more school than I would ever desire to go through in my life, and you're so smart, and you're smarter than I am. But the reality is, and I'm sure many of my medical professional friends and family will support me in this, is that doctors don't know everything. That is a reality. It's not a critique. It is not a slam. It is not shade. I'm not throwing shade at doctors. The reality is that this is what I've been thinking about actually over the last day, and I want to share this with you guys, is that we are such incredibly complex, magnificent, miraculous beings, creations, that some of the most educated people in the world cannot figure us out. My point here is not to critique medical professionals. My point here is to build up, support, stand in awe of the fact that we are these incredible beings, that some of the smartest, most educated people in the world are still trying to figure out how it all works, how it all happens. Why does my baby have a limb deficiency? Why are some children born with autism? You could go on and on and on down the list, and hopefully someday we'll have answers to that, but we may not. And to me, you can sit here and be frustrated by that. You can be angry about it. You can be disappointed, which is natural, but you can also look at it and say, oh my gosh, how incredible are we as beings, that we are that complex, that some of the smartest people in the world haven't been able to figure it all out, but yet we're still here. and yet we're still functioning, and we can talk, and we can breathe, and we can hear, and we can walk, and all these things that so many of us are able to do, that is miraculous. So for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that at this point it looks like my baby's right arm is just an anomaly. I'm grateful that she's coming into the world. I'm grateful that we were chosen for her. I'm grateful for friends like you who are supporting us and showering us with love throughout this entire process. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life, but because of that, it's caused me, my wife, I know a lot of those around us, to grow as individuals, to grow closer to each other in a way that we would not have otherwise, and that's all thanks to our daughter. So anyway, I just wanted to jump on here today and tell you guys that you should definitely question doctors, and that's not questioning their intellect, that's not questioning their wisdom, their understanding, all the years of studying and practicing that they have done in their profession. It's the simple fact that some individuals may not have all the information, or they may be making a diagnosis based off of opinion or facts that they read or interpreted the wrong way. So you as the patient, you as the parents of the patient, the brother of the patient, the son, the daughter of the patient, you have a right to ask and to get the answers that you require, and that's what we've done. And though there is a certain level of uncertainty, we know that, and we're okay with that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep asking questions, and you shouldn't keep empowering yourself, and you shouldn't be worried about insulting somebody, because that's their job. That's what they're there to do. That's what they went through all these years of education to do, was to provide those answers to you. And just like any other industry, any other job, if you can't get the answer that you're looking for, if they can't provide you with an answer at all, then you find somebody who can, or you double check that answer. There's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't feel bad about it. I don't. And honestly, I feel more at peace now than I did before. To an extent, I'm glad that we went through what we went through with that orthopedist, because it caused us to ask questions that we wouldn't have thought to ask otherwise. It probably introduced us to people that we wouldn't have been introduced to otherwise. So yeah, last week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was really hard. And even since then, it's been challenging because you're still dealing with that emotion of what you've been told. But now, as we're 7-8 days removed from that, I look back on it and I say, thank you. Thank you for opening my mind and my heart to things I hadn't considered. That now I feel better and stronger and more in tune with myself and with my baby as a result of all of it. We are close. We are less than 4 weeks away from our baby's due date. So, we have our last baby shower today, gonna run off to that, gonna see some of our closest friends and celebrate with them, and really just start to sink our feet into the fact that our baby is almost here and celebrate that fact. I think we've been so distracted by all of the appointments, by all of the classes, by all of the unknown, that to an extent we haven't really been able to just sit back and say, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a baby and she's gonna be here soon. And my goal, my objective for my wife and myself in the coming weeks is to embrace that. To get the house obviously finished and ready for her, but to embrace the fact that she's coming and she's ours. I'm so grateful. Can't wait to meet her. Anyway, love you guys so much, and thank you again for everything. If you're not subscribing, on YouTube or following me on social media, do that. Just look up the Dad Diary. I put the links everywhere. I'm not gonna shout them out right here. But anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, month, or whatever you're embarking on. I wish you all the best. And as we do it every single time on the Dad Diary, I'm sending you guys off with peace and love.